Hey, welcome back, everybody. Good Sunday. Great to see you, and a pretty exciting episode today. I guess we'll call it an episode, right? Might as well. It's kind of a daily thing. So, I guess GMWeather episode number 500, actually. I was looking at that this morning, and this is technically my 500th video I've uploaded. Now, not all of them are forecasting videos like this one, but that is super kind of, I guess, a cool thing and a fun milestone on the channel. But today we are going to be talking about what is looking to shape up to be a pretty exciting pattern towards the end of the month. And I'm gaining a lot of confidence here in potential huge snow totals for some folks, kind of towards the middle and the second half of November. And I'll talk about why that is in today's video. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, though, go ahead and do so. Like the video, comment, let me know where you're watching from. And also a couple other announcements I'm going to run through here really quickly. First of all, I want to start by thanking David Poplin, and if I mispronounced your last name, David, I apologize. He donated to the channel, which if you were unaware is a thing you can do. I have my PayPal linked in the link tree that is in the description below. And obviously, you're not pressured to do that by any means, but if you feel so inclined to, you are definitely welcome to, and all of those kind of donations go to helping fund my education. So again, thank you so much for that, David. Also, David did bring up a point. He said it'd be kind of cool to have a reoccurring kind of like membership thing, and that is something I am working on. So do expect before this month is over, I'm going to add memberships to the channel. I know a lot of other YouTubers do that, and I think my channel's at the point now where I think that is something that I can and should look into. So I will definitely work on that here over the coming weeks. Another thing I wanted to briefly talk about, and again, I know this is a lot of announcements at the beginning of the video, but I am selling a calendar for the 2025 year. This is comprised of all pictures I have taken. So if you're unfamiliar with this, I actually am a bit of a photographer on the side. I do a lot of photography things, and these are kind of some of the pictures that are in the calendar. So you can also find that with the link below. I will have that linked, and you can also just hit my link tree, which is all over the channel and in the description, and you can order one of these if you like as well. So I know that was a lot of kind of self-promotion at the beginning of the video, but just kind of some things that happened to pop up all at the same time. So I figured I would throw it here at the beginning. All right, with that said, though, let's go ahead and talk about the weather, because again, a lot of very kind of exciting things coming on down the pipeline here in the world of weather. So we will start with satellite imagery. And we are briefly going to touch on the tropics. I will mention that, but we're really not going to do a lot with the tropics today, but do note that that is something I will discuss here in the video. But right now, looking at satellite imagery, things remain relatively quiet, at least in terms of severe weather. Now, we do have very active weather in terms of rainfall falling here in the eastern United States. You'll notice all of these cooler cloud tops. Again, nothing really convective in nature by any means, but plenty of showers working over the eastern half of the country right now, from the deep south all the way up into the northeast by this afternoon. And all of this due to this low pressure that is now occluded, just meaning that it has already hit max strength and will kind of continue to weaken, but it's still strong enough. We're getting enough lift here from this front to kind of bring all of this shower activity again to many of us this afternoon. So kind of one of those great days for a pot of chili out there. It's, well, chilly outside and pretty rainy. Now, as for the tropics, you'll notice, not really a lot. This is what was Rafael and technically still is Rafael, but as you can tell, getting absolutely just sheared apart and having some wind or some drier air issues here in the Gulf of Mexico on this Sunday, which is great news for us. And again, that storm likely to die off on its own. Another thing, you'll notice this little flare-up of thunderstorm activity we had that kind of died off. That was another invest that we were watching for potential development that has since kind of, not done very well. And again, right now, the National Hurricane Center giving that area only a 10% chance of development. Rafael, on the other hand, is again kind of still dying out as well. So really not much happening currently in the tropics. And again, I'm not going to go super in depth with it today, but I will mention briefly that we're not done all the way potentially. Now we could be, but there is signs here towards the kind of middle of the month here, and even a little bit later than that, that another Central American gyre could try to get going down here into the Western Caribbean. And again, sea surface temperatures remain warm, moisture content remains high, and wind shear values remain low in the Caribbean, so conditions are favorable for more development. And some of our models, including the GFS, which has been pretty good at sniffing out these storms, has been kind of hinting at the idea of something developing down there in the 5 to 10 day range. You'll notice that storm popping up there, and then eventually hitting Central America, and then getting picked up later on by a cold front and doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Again, though, what's really important right now is just know nothing major right now. There's no direct threat to the land, but we will watch it, and our ensemble members are hinting that, again, maybe something could try to get going down here. These are the GFS ensemble members, and you'll notice a lot of them develop something down into the southwestern Caribbean, and a good number of them, probably a quarter of the ensembles, I would say, do pull this northward, generally towards Cuba, the Gulf, or portions of the Yucatan Peninsula. So we will need to watch it. The European ensembles as well also show this general idea for maybe some development. And again, a couple concerning members in here do try to pull this north and get it quite strong. And pull it up into the Gulf of Mexico. So nothing set in stone there, obviously, but it is something we're going to watch. And should chances increase, I'll give it a little bit more time in the videos. But right now, I don't think there's much use in going over every single map for something that is probably going to change pretty often. I say that, and then we're going to do that exactly here in a minute with snowfall. But honestly, I'm just kind of more in the mood to talk about snow anyway. So that's the tropics. Again, no direct threats right now to the United States or really anybody, but we are watching the Caribbean for potentially one last hurrah for development chances. All right, next thing we're going to talk about, this is a new kind of segment I'm starting on the channel. This is kind of, meteorology lesson 101, if you will, for the day. And we'll do it a little bit more with other aspects of the video. But again, I want to start by showing the upper level map and then showing you the surface map for the current time, which is just kind of the morning and afternoon hours of today. And kind of, tell you how they correlate. I think for my regular viewers, this is going to be really useful as we go further ahead into time. The more I show you these maps and kind of explain them to you, whenever we start to look at the future, you'll be able to correlate the meteorological kind of facts with those maps as well. So here we go. This is right now at our 500 millibar height map. Again, this is just halfway up in the atmosphere in terms of mass. Now, there is a bit of an exponential decay in mass, so there's a lot more mass at the surface, and then it kind of exponentially falls off, so it's not a steady decline in mass, and that's why this is more of the upper levels compared to the mid levels, because again, 0 millibars would be space, technically 1,000 millibars would be the surface. So this isn't technically halfway, this is a little bit higher up than halfway in the atmosphere. Now, winds right now and kind of pressure values, again, you'll notice kind of one feature, obviously, that jumps out probably is this circle with some of these stronger winds. This is an upper level low that is over portions of Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin here on this Sunday. And that's really the main story right now that we're seeing up on the 500 millibar map. Now, other than that, you're obviously also going to probably point out this little bit up here. That is our polar jet stream. So that is just, there's kind of two jets in the world. There's the polar jet and then there's the subtropical jet. This is the northern branch of that. So anything to the south of that is relatively mild air, and anything to the north is relatively cold air, is kind of how that one works. And again, that'll be important as we talk about those snow chances later on in this video. But one of my favorite things about this map is how you can draw something on here and then it will overlay with the surface map. And that's what I'm going to show you next here. Again, this is our upper level low. Notice where this is. Again, this is, pretty high up in the atmosphere. And then let's take a look at our surface map. And what do you notice? Well, you notice there is the exact same thing at the surface. So you're probably thinking, well, what's going on there? This means that our storm system is stacked. This means there's the low pressure at the surface and above it, which tells me as a meteorologist or soon-to-be meteorologist that this storm is occluded and is no longer in a favorable position for development or strengthening, which is one of the reasons why we're not really getting any kind of severe weather out of all of these showers through the eastern half of the country today. Just enough lift, though, still, that we are getting those showers. So again, that's what that means. And you'll also notice in the upper levels, again, I know I'm taking a long time here, but I think it's kind of fun to explain all this, and you can skip all of it if you want. But another thing I'll mention up here is you'll notice this little bit of troughing. Now, troughing is just any time you have an elongation of lower pressure to higher pressure. Notice where that is. And then if I go to the surface map, you'll notice to the right-hand side of this, we have some snow showing up. So what's that? Well, that is due to divergence aloft. Anytime you get a trough in the upper levels, kind of to the right-hand side of it, you get rising motion, and that's exactly what's happening here with the shore wave. We've got some snow falling up into Canada because of that. So again, just kind of some fun little meteorology of the day there. That is a fun little segment I like to add to these videos, and it makes the videos probably a little bit longer than they should be, but again, you can always skip it. You're not going to hurt my feelings. So, all right, so how does all this correlate to what's happening at the surface right now? Well, again, a whole lot of rain is falling. over the eastern half of the country, all due to this low pressure and all of the lift that we're seeing associated with it. And again, luckily, not really a severe weather threat because of kind of how the storm is stacked in the upper levels. And is kind of prevented from strengthening anymore, but that does not mean we will not see impacts today. Again, we are seeing a little bit of flooding in some isolated places where some of this rain is kind of training over the same areas, but really just kind of a gloomy, dreary day for much of the eastern half of the country and an ongoing fire risk in the northeast. So it is very good that we are going to get some of this rain to move into that region. In fact, I was looking yesterday, air quality in New York City was abysmal. I think about as bad as it was back during the June 2023 wildfire event due to some of these fires breaking out over the Northeast. The good news, though, again, is this rain is going to help to alleviate those concerns a little bit. And then out west, you'll notice some mountain snow falling as well. And we'll talk about out west in a moment because a big time storm is coming out that way later this week. All right, brand new model run. I'm going to just quickly go through that so it loads properly. And let's go ahead and talk about what's going to happen. So this afternoon, again, it's going to be a showery day through much of the eastern part of the country, from the Midwest down through the Ohio River Valley, even into the Southeast. Pretty rainy conditions for a lot of folks, and that continues. This is, past sunset tonight. This is about 10 p.m. And you'll notice, again, a lot of that rain finally getting into these areas that really need it with those wildfire concerns from Pennsylvania up through New England. And rain even all the way back down into the Carolinas. Now, I will mention there could be a little bit of enhanced lift with just a little bit of enhanced instability down into the Mid-South. So we could see some rumbles of thunder as some of this kind of becomes convective in nature during the evening hours through Tennessee, Alabama, and Mississippi, maybe even up into Kentucky as well. So we'll watch that for sure. But overall, again, just a rainy day from the Great Lakes through the Northeast, through the Southeast, Mid-Atlantic. And by the time we're waking up Monday morning, more of the same. Now, some of this begins to work offshore, but still showery through the Carolinas. And then a lot of showers still working on through the Northeast as well there. Up through, again, Maine, and then down through Cape Cod and into the Delmarva. Now, by the time we get into Monday afternoon, conditions do begin to improve for most of us. Less rain on the map than there is in the morning hours, but you will note still some rain lingering around into the Great Lakes here. In fact, kind of a secondary front is going to swing on through here. So that could lead to another enhanced bit of precipitation through portions of Michigan and back into Ontario and even into Quebec here. And then even some showers lingering down into the Gulf as kind of what is left of Raphael helps to enhance some rainfall down that way for your Monday afternoon. And then all of this continues Monday evening. Again, here comes that secondary cold front. This is the one that's going to bring more of a cold shock compared to that first batch of rain tomorrow morning. This one's a little bit more potent, is a little bit denser air mass, and is going to create a little bit more lift and some cooler air on the backside there. Again, this is overnight Monday into Tuesday. So some rainy weather there, again, working on through New England, and still some showery weather down the Gulf Coast, again, due to what is left of Raphael. And then that'll set up shop for what is kind of the start of a pattern change. Now, not a super big pattern change to start out, but again, kind of, I think the 10-day range is what I'm really watching, and we'll get there in 1 second. But before we do, let's talk about the West, because again, your weather matters just as much as us in the East. And this afternoon, things remain kind of quiet for one last day. A couple of snow showers and rain showers up into the northern Rockies, but the real show comes in tomorrow morning, and really as early as overnight tonight, I would say. Here's our next storm system. A lot of rain, a lot of mountain snow falling there into the PNW. All of that continues into Monday afternoon. In fact, some squally weather here. You'll notice how those cells kind of break up a little bit there towards the Washington and Oregon coast. So this could be convective in nature, meaning pretty heavy rainfall rates, a couple rumbles of thunder even. And cannot even rule out maybe a couple of, rotating storms here. Now, that's not a big deal, obviously. I don't think it'll be, an outbreak or anything by any means. But, there are times we do see a couple wall clouds out of these storm systems as they move ashore, and all of that continues Monday afternoon. A very active scene into the northern Rockies, into the Pacific Northwest, and then these snow showers work deep into the Rockies and through the Cascades through our overnight Monday and into Tuesday. So a pretty active scene out west as well as we go through the next couple of days. All right. Talking about the upper level wind pattern again, I kind of talked about it a little bit at the early part of the video, but let's talk about the long range rather. Again, sorry, the coffee hasn't really kicked in all the way yet this Sunday, but that's okay. So here we go. We'll pick up where we left off. This is Tuesday morning, and notice the pattern. We have this big dip in, again, the polar jet, as I called it earlier, into the northeast. This is going to bring a pretty good shot of cold air up into that region, especially considered to or compared to what it has been. It's been pretty mild. And speaking of mild, at the same time, a huge ridge through the central part of the country. You'll notice how all these isobars are bending upwards. That tells me that there's a warm air mass here in the central part of the country, and that'll probably warm things back up again early next week. However, that's not the entire story, because look at what happens. Another big trough works on through here. This is next Thursday, and this once again brings a shot of cooler air into the northeast, and then kind of suppresses that ridge a little bit further down back towards Texas. And this is going to be a theme, I think. This is going to be something we need to watch for, as I think, look at this, even another big trough works through next weekend. After that, an even bigger trough works through after that. And then in the long range, a mega trough works through, at least here on the GFS model, past 10 days. And it's not the only model showing this change to more meridional flow, just meaning a more active pattern, less kind of mild, boring weather, more extreme kind of, whether that be on the warm or the cold side weather. And again, European shows the same thing. Here we go, Tuesday morning. There's that first trough working through the northeast, bringing some cooler weather, a ridge behind it. But check this out, another trough, and the European gets this one even much further south. This would bring that cooler air all the way down to the Carolinas potentially about a week from now. And then you'll notice in the long range, another big troughing pattern kind of works over the east and sets up shop, much like the GFS 10 days from now, with what looks to be a very amplified trough, setting up shop to dive southward towards the eastern United States. Now, again, a lot of you are probably wondering, well, Gerald, I really don't care. What does this mean? Well, it means an active stormy pattern and a cooler pattern. So let's talk about this. Again, this is Tuesday morning. Here's that kind of precipitation I talked about overnight Monday into Tuesday through the northeast that we just discussed just a couple moments ago. After that, again, things get a little bit more quiet, but high pressure here through the eastern United States. This will bring cold air damming all the way down the spine of the Appalachia chain. That'll cool things off for the early part of the week. And it'll also bring return flow out of the Gulf and warm things back up into the plains. So kind of a bit of a catch-22 depending on where you're at here during the early part of the week. But what happens as we get these troughs to dig south is look at these storm systems. Look at this one. Thursday into Friday starts in the Midwest, then dives south into the Northeast, and you'll notice a little bit of blue showing up here. That's because of that cold air already in place, and even a little bit more cold air trying to chase it a little bit, and that's going to be a common theme. That's one storm system. You'll notice even another little clipper system tries to dive in behind that on the GFS. And then more storm systems later on down the road. This is about 7 to 10 days from now. Pretty feisty looking storm here with snow on the backside here through portions of the Northeast in that 10-day time frame. Now, don't take any of these storms verbatim, but what I do want you to note and take from it is there's a lot of energy flying around. So we're going to see these storm systems ramp up a little bit and try to get going. That combined with this cold air moving further south, does spell the potential for a more wintry pattern, and the European model is similar. Again, this is Monday and Tuesday. There's that little band of maybe some mountain snow working through the Northeast that we talked about with that cold shot. Becomes a little more quiet in the east by Wednesday, but another storm system getting going in the plains, and the European, again, further south with that storm system, so brings a chilly, cold rain here Wednesday and Thursday into the southeast, maybe even a little bit of mixed precipitation into the higher terrains. The apps from West Virginia down through maybe the highest peaks of North Carolina, at least on that model run. And then after that, again, notice another storm system getting going here and kind of crossing the country and bringing cooler air behind it. And then in that 10-day range, setting up shop for a more potent storm system with all this blue dipping south in the upper levels. So again, what can we take away for the next 10 days? Well, I think the next 10 days is going to be a bit of a transitional period. Now, I think the real fun comes 10 to 15 days from now, but I do think we'll see cooler air in the east, at least more shots of it. We'll see storm systems trying to cross the entire country and not getting stuck at the Mississippi, maybe like we've seen earlier in the month and through much of October. But once we get past 10 days, again, that's when things get exciting. And these are snowfall chances. This is the chance of at least an inch of snow falling within a 24-hour period. On our ensembles, these are the GFS ensembles. This is Tuesday. Monday into Tuesday. Again, obviously a lot of snow out west with that storm system we talked about. Even some snowfall chances into the higher terrains of New England by early this coming week. And then that swings on through. Things die down a little bit. You'll notice another chance of snowfall in the Northeast, at least the interior Northeast on the GFS and its ensembles by Friday. That's that next storm system, that next piece of energy. Again, a lot of question marks with that, but the chance is there for some snow. And then it dies down a little bit more. But notice what happens here. Once we get to about 10 to 15 days, snowfall chances increase big time. This isn't even 10 to 15 days. This is really about 10 days from now. Look at all of these snowfall chances increasing through much of the Great Lakes into the interior Northeast, even down with some northwest flow showing up from North Carolina northward. And yeah, it's a pattern that is much more indicative of cooler, snowier weather. And I'll talk about why in just a second here and why I think this could be even bigger snow than you might be thinking. But first, let's take a look at the European ensembles. Same map here. Again, small snow chances into the higher terrains early this coming week of the Northeast. Higher chance of accumulating snow off to the Rockies, as you would expect. Kind of the rich get richer, if you will. And then we get into later this week, again, a little bit of some snow chances. Again, the model's kind of fighting over how that next storm will progress a little bit here, but some very small chances of maybe some snow into the Northeast. And again, if the Europeans right, maybe even a couple big wet snowflakes mixing in to the southern apps with some cold rain, should we get a more southern track with that next storm system that again the European was showing. Then again, a little bit of a break. Snow chances linger a little bit into the Northeast through the week time frame. And then here comes that 10-day range. And same story as the GFS. Big time increase in snowfall chances through the Midwest, through the interior Northeast, and again, even down the spine of the apps here from North Carolina up into West Virginia. So why is this and why am I pretty confident in it? Well, one reason I'm pretty confident is I just showed you two ensembles and they showed the same thing. Now, why are they showing it? Well, this is why. This is the GFS and its ensemble members. Notice as we get about 10 days from now, look at this big blue upper level energy moving out of the Pacific Northwest and across the Great Lakes and into the east. This is about the 20th of November. So again, about 10 days from now. And what this tells me is the model is projecting a very cold air mass to cross the eastern half of the country. And again, this is getting all the way from Canada all the way down into the deep south. And it's not just the ensemble showing this. Again, that sets up shop and hangs around for a while with that cooler air. But even the operational runs, this is the latest GFS model. And we'll kind of move this ahead into time and get into that 10-day time frame. Let me refresh the page so it loads properly here. We'll kind of pick up where we left off. Okay, so here we go. This is about the 18th, 19th of November. Again, here's one storm system. Don't maybe buy too much into that right now. Again, energy flying around. Maybe it forms, maybe it doesn't. We'll see. But what is more important, I think, is this big cold energy in the Pacific Northwest at this time. Again, this is the 19th, the 18th of November. And what happens is all of this energy moves eastbound. It fires up a storm due to that divergence aloft I was talking about earlier. And here we go. We've got a big storm cranking through the middle part of the country in about 9 to 10 days with a very cold polar, maybe even Arctic air mass on the back side of it. And then this crosses the country and we get a lot of blue showing up. So this is, again, 11, 12 days from now. So don't look into the specifics. But what I do want you to note here is the potential for a strong storm system getting occluded by very cold air. And this is a classic recipe for major lake effect snow. So if you're watching in the normal kind of trouble spots for lake effect, Michigan, the UP of Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York State, even the higher terrains with that northwest flow from West Virginia to south into North Carolina, this has the potential to be a huge lake effect event, again, in the 10-day time frame. And it could last for a while. Now, another reason I'm confident in this is this reason right here. These are current lake temperatures over the Great Lakes. And I mean, we're running some temperatures, 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit over Lake Erie and kind of some of these more southern bits of these lakes here. Again, you're seeing, pretty warm temperatures, and a big reason for this is we had such a warm fall. We have yet to get a huge kind of very cold air mass, so the lakes haven't cooled down much. And if we go from, very warm fall conditions to winter in, the span of a couple of hours or a couple of days, that's going to fire off major lake effect snow if you can get the ingredients to line up correctly. Now, with lake effect, it can be kind of difficult, and I will go ahead and kind of give you one more little science lesson here before I let you go. Let's go to the same time frame with the storm. I'm going to take a sounding here, kind of near the Erie, PA area, and show you why this gets a little dicey quickly. So this is again a sounding. What I want you to look at though is that chart on the left. This is a skew-T log P map. And what this shows us is temperature throughout the atmosphere and wind throughout the atmosphere. Now, for a very good lake effect, what you want is minimal wind shear. So you see all these wind barbs here. You want them all facing generally the same direction and about the same speed. And you'll notice you get that here with this sounding. Another thing you get is a saturated column from the surface all the way up to almost 650 millibars. You could argue even up to maybe 400 millibars, telling me that there is deep instability here and a lot of cold air. That combined with these very warm lake temperatures, again, this could fire off major lake effect snow totals towards the middle of the month, again from the 20th in that general time frame. So nothing set in stone right now, obviously, but I do want you to know I am gaining confidence in this potential for a big pattern change about 10 days from now. Now, the next 10 days, again, I'm going to call it that transitional period to the more exciting pattern. But either way, things look to be getting a bit more active in the world of weather. Alrighty, folks, I appreciate it. Again, if you haven't already subscribed, do so. Like the video, hit that bell for the latest notifications. And obviously comment, let me know where you're watching from. And again, if you're interested, go ahead and consider ordering a calendar. And if you're not interested, that is completely fine as well. Alrighty, folks, have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Enjoy it out there. Stay safe. I'll see you all tomorrow.